industry and small business are the backbone of our economy. What do you plan to do to foster a strong business climate for industry and small business while reducing our dependence on government for new jobs?
Well, economic development and jobs has always been at the forefront of the work that we've been doing at Washington, but also back here at home. In fact, I have a full-time economic director for the last 10 years who didn't wait till a recession happened, but we've been working with local businesses. In fact, 126 businesses just in the past year that we've helped them cut through the red tape, helped them get access to capital, and helped them with the problems they're having right back here at home on Main Street. What do we do in the short term? We first save existing jobs. That's one of the things we've been concentrating on, whether it's the 600 jobs down at GE, or whether it's the jobs in local businesses and small businesses throughout the district that we've helped. Also is to work with the new Microenterprise Assistance Program, which came out of the subcommittee that I chair to help small businesses and rural entrepreneurs. It's also to make sure that we are working with our local community colleges and small business development centers. It's also the new Southeast Crescent Economic Commission that I authored to work specifically in economically blighted counties with our local chambers, our local economic development councils, and local small business. And also, it's repealing things like NAFTA that have hurt and taken away jobs in the manufacturing base here. I support the Make It in America plan to re-strengthen our manufacturing base and the opportunity for jobs right here in southeastern North Carolina.
Thank you. Congressman, you'll answer this next question first. In your opinion, what needs to be done to further overhaul the U.S. financial institutions?
Well, the main thing we've got to do is make sure that we are helping the small banks back here on Main Street. I voted against the bank bailouts because of the fact that they were trying to solve a problem up at Wall Street, where I know my opponent worked, at Goldman Sachs. And the difference is that while he was up working with Goldman Sachs on Wall Street, I was feeding payroll back home in Lumberton on Main Street. I was opposed to the financial regulation reform bill that came out because it didn't do enough. I met with the boards of directors, the local bank directors that work with local businesses back here at home, and they said that doesn't help. We've got to make sure we can leverage more capital to help our small businesses. This is one of the reasons that when I talked about the Rural Entrepreneur and Microenterprise Assistance Program, it was to help our very small businesses who are the fastest job generators we have to make sure they can get the access to the capital that they need. That's why when we work with our mid-sized regional banks and our local credit unions, which we have a strong record of doing, we want them to be getting the access to capital that they need to help them. We want to do everything we can to make sure that our small businesses succeed, and that's why I've received the endorsement of the National Federation of Independent Business, which says I have a 100% record for small business.
Thank you. Thank you. I will repeat the question. In your opinion, what needs to be done to further overhaul the U.S. financial institutions?
I think that one of the things that I would like to tune your ear to tonight is that as we have a conversation about the issues at hand, you will see that there is a philosophy and one set of solutions that recognize that government isn't the solution, but in fact is part of the problem. And as a conservative, what I would like to do is try and minimize the role of government, whether it's in excessive regulation or through excessive taxation, or by limiting some of the frivolous lawsuits that cause everything to go up in cost, including, by the way, some of the material that's packaged in the financial reform bill. When I think a little bit about the differences in our positions, I come to realize that I'm hearing a lot of solutions that are about the government spending more money on solving a problem, when I think the right answer and a conservative perspective is about letting the private sector be empowered to solve those problems. When I hear solutions that are consistently about how much money was brought home and spent to alleviate an issue, that's the root of our philosophical difference. I think that the private sector needs to be enabled to solve these issues. Thank you.
You have the first answer to our next question. What is your stance on our involvement in Afghanistan?
As a veteran, as a proud Marine who has fought in 2 wars to serve this country, I feel very strongly that when we make a commitment of troops, that we need to make sure we fight it, and we fight it through to the end. And in this case, we've committed troops to Afghanistan, and while I agree that now as we're on our 9th year, and the course seems perilous, I want to give the benefit of the doubt to the on-scene Commander, General Petraeus, to the Commander of CENTCOM, General Mattis, and to the President as they try and attempt to sort out a very difficult region. I'm very, very familiar with the area, the challenges drawn from Pakistan, and of course the influence of Iran in destabilizing Afghanistan. I think it's a critical problem, and of course I support the troops in staying the course. My opponent, I'm afraid, hasn't always shown that kind of backbone. 7 times in 2007, he voted with Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama to cut and run from Iraq. Not once, not twice, 7 times. And then he voted against the surge. Thank you.
Thank you. Repeat the question. What is your stance on our involvement in Afghanistan?
I can tell you there's no doubt that we want to do everything we can to support the troops. And I can tell you as the Vice Chairman of the Subcommittee on Terrorism, not only have I gone to Afghanistan and to Pakistan and the Middle East, South America, Europe, and have looked at the situation and met with troops because we realize this is a worldwide endeavor. It's not only in Afghanistan. Of course, that's where the central breeding ground has been for the terrorists. And we've got to do everything we can to help our men and women in uniform. That's why I supported getting the Marine Special Operations Command Center and led the first congressional delegation to visit that right up the road here at Camp Lejeune. That's why I founded and co-chaired the Special Operations Command Caucus up in Washington so my fellow colleagues in Congress would understand why it's important to support our special forces.
Yes, you did.
And when my opponent talked in the last debate about cutting the Department of Defense, but then tonight complains about cuts, listen, I don't think we need to be cutting the Department of Defense. That is a distinction that he stated in the last debate. We have got to put the money to support our troops, and during the time you've given me in office, we've gotten over $4 billion to help with Fort Bragg, help with Camp Lejeune, and just open a new wharf to help our men and women down at Sunny Point. I stand clearly and strongly, and we put our money where our mouth is to stand with our troops, and that cannot be denied.
I'd like to remind the audience to remain silent during the answers to the questions. Thank you very much. Congressman McIntyre, the next question. What is your position on health care reform and the Patient Protection and Affordability Act and its effect on health care systems, home health, hospice, and hospitals?
Well, there's no doubt, and I made my position very clear, front page of the Star News last August, that I was opposed to this particular health care reform bill. Later, I voted against it in November and voted against it in March, and I was the first in America to be interviewed by our friends from Channel 6, who I know are here tonight, on the Monday after Palm Sunday, and reiterated my concern and the fact that I would support repeal if we were in a position that we could do that. And let me say something. Where we need help with health care are places like where I was today in Warsaw. We cut a ribbon at Goshen Medical Clinic. I've been in face at Goshen Medical Clinic there, and the one in Clinton, and the one we started down in Bolton. We need to be on the front lines delivering affordable, accessible health care to help right here at home. The health care bill that was originally proposed, of course, would have been another $1 trillion bureaucracy, which is why I didn't support it. But health care is so important. That's why I helped Carolina East Hospice right here. That's why I was at Dukeland General Hospital right before I came over here, and why I was helping Goshen Medical Clinic. We want to do everything we can to make sure that our health care dollars are such that the people can access them, and that small business can survive and cut down on these skyrocketing insurance premiums.
Thank you.